Now, can an air source heat pump be installed on a central heating system that already has 10mm plastic pipe installed? Now in this video we're going to find out if we can or we can't. So let's get on with it. Now before we get into this video, I just want to clear a few things up. Basically from comments I get put onto my videos when I'm talking about heat pumps. First one is, everybody says you're a gas engineer and you hate heat pumps. Technically I'm a heating engineer as well as a gas engineer, a plumber, a commercial engineer, and I also qualified in heat pumps. So I don't hate heat pumps. In fact, if I was to build a house, I would install a heat pump, but I would make sure my house is in the right orientation for solar panels to be used. I would make sure it's insulated within an inch of its life. I would have batteries to go with my solar panels, because you would be a fool to have an air source heat pump without batteries and solar panels. I still won't have an electric car though. I'm not going in the pub. Anyway, so I don't hate them. I think they're amazing pieces of equipment. The way it can actually take heat out of the air just by using refrigerant. So it doesn't actually make anything, it just draws the heat out. So it's a fantastic piece of equipment. I just don't like all the nonsense that goes with them and all the stuff that doesn't get told about them. So, without all the subsidies and the government giving you $7.5 grand, they ain't worth it. Anyway, so no, I don't hate heat pumps. And the other thing is, they say I'm a climate denier. Anyway, look where I live. Look at this. Absolutely beautiful. I've lived here virtually all my life, and I couldn't think of living anywhere else. Manchester just there. It's just amazing. So I'm not a climate denier. Climate's changed constantly throughout this planet's life and will continue to change constantly. Do we play a part in it? Of course we do. Only a tiny little part. Everything plays a part in it. So, not a climate denier. It's just this nonsense about CO2. I don't get it. Now, if the government were pushing something like NOx made by a boiler, some nitrous oxide, which is poisonous, then I could get it. But the government's saying we've got to get rid of gas boilers because of the CO2, when CO2's built all this. Look at that. Without CO2, we wouldn't have any of this, and we wouldn't be here, because these lovely trees and stuff use the CO2 to make oxygen. So, no, I'm not a climate denier. I'm just a realist. Anyway, back to the video. Now, micropore pipe has been used in UK plumbing heating systems since the late 1970s and became quite popular in the 80s, and it's still the go-to plumbing system in new builds today. Now, they've used micropore because it's technically cheaper to install, because it's supposed to be faster, especially the plastic micropore. Now, since 2008, I would say a vast majority of new build properties have used the plastic push fit system rather than copper. Now, any pipe under the size of 50mm is deemed micropore. So that's 12, 10, 8, 6, there is 6mm as well. So they're all micropore. And like I say, it can either be plastic or it can be copper. Now, micropore gives us a bit of a problem, because This is a piece of 15mm push fit pipe, and it requires inserts to go into the end to make it strong for the fitting to clip onto. So we've already got a reduced bore, and then we're putting an insert in which is reducing the bore even more. 10mm copper pipe is the same OD as the plastic pipe, but the inside diameter where the water flows is quite a lot bigger on the copper than it is on the plastic. And then add an insert into here, it reduces it even more. Now, in a traditional central heating system, 10mm plastic or 10mm copper microbore pipe going to a radiator, it's never really been a problem with a flow temperature of 80 degrees. But even with the introduction of Boiler Plus and ERP pumps, 10mm has started to become a problem when it's in long runs and feeding quite large radiators. Now, because of the reduction in the internal diameter, so this is a 22mm plastic pipe and this is a 10mm one, you can see there's a massive reduction there, so we are actually reducing the flow rate of the water going to these radiators. Now, like I say, in a traditional central heating system with a flow temperature of 80 degrees and a pump speed of 3, then that doesn't really become a problem. But when it comes to actually installing heat pumps, the bigger the pipe, the better it is, technically, because of the flow rate. And this is one of the first things you're taught when you go into installing heat pumps, that a heat pump needs a massive flow and plenty of water. Now, the new build houses, especially those built after 2008, have a higher spec insulation than those houses built in the 1980s. So this insulation should counterbalance the low flow rate and the heat loss from the building, so using 10mm plastic pipe wasn't or hasn't really been that much of a problem. Now, the houses built before 2008, a lot of them had copper, and again wasn't really a big problem for the low flow rate to the heat loss for the house. And this 10mm copper pipe would give you a better chance of switching to a heat pump than the houses built after 2008 with the plastic pipe. So, in a nutshell, if you have 10mm copper pipe and your heat loss calculation is less than 6 kilowatts, then there's a chance you could leave this microbore pipe in your property if you're switching from a gas boiler to an air source heat pump. But if you've got this plastic pipe, because of the inserts, then there is not much of a chance of actually switching from a gas boiler to a heat pump. Now, if you did try to install a heat pump on this plastic pipe, it's actually going to increase the velocity, it's going to increase the pressure, and it's going to increase the noise, and it's going to reduce your efficiency of your heat pump, so there's no chance of reaching this SCOP of 5 that everybody says you get. Now, again, I've had comments put on my videos from people who've had heat pumps fitted on microbore pipe. Not that they've said it's plastic or copper, but they're adamant they're still getting a high SCOP when they've got plastic pipe fitted. That's pretty debatable, really, but maybe they have got the copper. Now, because these microbore pipes have a small internal diameter, we found out that there isn't a large volume of water in the system. which in turn can increase the number of cycles that a heat pump does per hour. And I do believe a heat pump can only do 3 cycles an hour. Now this in turn will again lower the efficiency of the heat pump, especially when the heat pump is in its defrost cycle. Now the defrost cycle is basically the heat pump has to defrost the unit itself. So it uses the heat it's created for the house to be able to defrost the unit, because if it didn't, then it would proper struggle to be able to take the heat out of the air. Now the outside air temperature, the actual size of the unit and the humidity dictates how many times the heat pump will go into its defrost cycle. On average, this is about every 40 minutes when we've got a minus figures outside. Now if you put glycol into the mix as well as the micropore, this means that the pump in the system has to work harder to maintain the high flow rate. This will reduce the efficiency and increase the pressure loss. So micropore plastic or copper and glycol are a recipe for disaster. Now, another big failure of micropore, whether it's plastic or copper, is it's easily damaged, which is going to lead to a flow restriction, which is going to make the heat pump run hotter. It's also going to make the heat pump cycle more, which again is going to knacker your SCOP and COP readings. Now if you're still adamant you want to try and use your micropore system because you don't want to actually destroy your house, then there are a couple of ways we can try, and I mean try, you are running the gauntlet to see if we can still keep the micropore in the system. So say you have to have a huge radiator installed in your living room to counteract your heat loss. So say you've got a K3 radiator, so a triple panel, triple convector radiator. These are not going to be very good at actually giving you the amount of flow rate you need to heat that radiator to be able to heat the house. So because your problem is actually volume, so the amount of water needed to heat that radiator, then there's a couple of things we can use. We could use a volumizer, which technically is like an expansion vessel in your return pipe going to your heat pump, where it can actually use that amount of water when it's in its defrost setting. Or you can use a control strategy, which is basically remove your thermostatic radiator valves, remove any zone valves, and just use the pump from the air source heat pump to pump it all around the system. Now that is a big gamble. Now talking of TRVs, they're not very good on air source heat pump systems anyway, because of the delta T they need to make them work properly, because the delta T on a heat pump system is a lot lower than it is on a traditional system. So most engineers remove TRVs anyway, but again, TRVs, if you've removed them, is stopping you having any localized control, i.e. if you've got heat gain coming through. So in spring and autumn, when the sun comes through, especially if you've got patio doors and stuff like that, then you lose that ability to close that section off, stopping you basically overheating. So a control system is a big gamble. Now, if your problem is more about the resistance, not volume going through the system, then there's really one option, which is insulate the hell out of your house. So if you're insisting keeping this rather than spending thousands repiping, then you'll need to spend thousands on insulating your house. And that could be insulating the outside of your house rather than the inside, which can be massively expensive. Now, this installation is obviously going to be reducing your heat loss calculation. So it's going to be reducing the kilowatt rating of the heat pump, which then is going to be reducing your flow and your resistance. So that could be an expensive option. Now, if your heating system is over 7 kilowatts, then you're probably going to be needing hydraulic separation. Now, hydraulic separation is basically in any central heating system. If you have more than one pump, then you are going to require to separate those two parts of the system. So the way you could actually do that is by the use of a buffer tank. You could also use a low loss header, or you could use a closed couple T arrangement. And again, using any of these systems, the problem is you're going to be losing the system efficiency. Now, if you want to avoid all these problems with micropore pipe, then you're just going to require a repipe. Repiping the system will also reduce any problems you have with debris in the system or with any damage that may occur to these small pipes. This could also help you because you have got more water in the system, that you won't need anything like buffer tanks or low loss headers or closed couple T systems to create hydraulic separation. But any alterations you make to any central heating system when replacing a gas boiler with a heat pump is obviously going to cost money. So at the moment, with the government giving the £7,500 grant under the MCS scheme and electric companies virtually giving electric away because you've got a heat pump, then at the moment, technically, it's cost effective to have a heat pump installed and ripping out your gas boiler. But don't come to me and complain when it doesn't work properly. So, to answer the question right at the very beginning, can you put a heat pump onto a central heating system that has got plastic or copper micropore pipe? As we found out, if you've got this stuff, but if you do have copper, there is every chance that the system can work, but there is plenty of buts involved in that, and it could be incredibly expensive to find out whether you can or you can't. You could waste a load of money and in the end still have to rip out or repipe most of your heating system, which could mean ceilings have to come down because you're unable to lift floorboards and stuff like that. Anyway, hopefully you've liked the video and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.